Well, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get this chapter two wrap up video to y'all a little bit sooner. I was chilling on the couch watching Swamp People, and I got a phone call from my captain saying that we had a bomb threat at Walmart today. So that's where I've spent the last 4 hours of my afternoon, taken away from my off day. But anyways, I do want to hit a couple points on chapter two and conclude it. But before that, I will let y'all know those who've posted the Blackboard profile picture. I will add those points to your discussion post. So the total points for the discussion post for chapter two is 10 points, but I will go and add an additional 10 points for those who've uploaded the Blackboard profile picture. So that should give you 20 points if you get full credit on the discussion post. Um, so I guess I could have worded the discussion question a little better. Do we think the UCR and NIBRS accurately uh, predicts the crime, or is it an accurate representation of the crime? And obviously, most of your answers was no, and I agree with you to a certain extent. So yes, we can only document crimes known to law enforcement. It's just not possible for us to know everything that happens, and if it doesn't get reported to us, then there's no way to quantify it. So when I'm asking you that question, I'm only asking for the purpose of for the crimes reported to us. Do you think that UCR and the other data that's collected from the National Crime Victim Survey, do you think it's good enough to gauge or tell a trend or shift in crime? And my answer would be yes. So whenever these databases were created, I think we established a baseline for crime statistics from whatever stats was taken in. And since then, you can see how the stats differ from year to year, whether it be trending up or trending down, or people are able to tell places are becoming more violent. Take, for example, Memphis, Tennessee this year. They broke their record in homicides this year. They had over 300 homicides, and the record before this was maybe around 240 ish. So just a small stat like that, you can go back and say, all right, well, this year was more violent than the last year. So maybe you can say that violent crime is increasing. So for those purposes, I think that's what this data is good for. Now, yes, we know that the 18,000 agencies are voluntarily reporting this information to the FBI. Some agencies are kind of locked in by different rules where they have to report this data, um, whether it be to receive federal funding. And you also saw in the Atlanta study where they had a little bit of incentive to kind of skew the stats in their favor to, make it seem like their city was a little bit safer, and that was just to draw in the Olympics. Um, so with that being said, there's going to be an exception to every rule. There's going to be reasons why people may falsely report crimes, or people may not put forth their best effort in quantifying things. And some people may over quantify their stats. Say for whatever reason, there's a grant out there for law enforcement agencies to hire more officers. And say the federal government will pay you for, 10% of your manpower for 5 years if you've showed a 10% uptick in violent crime. So there may be a different incentive of why agencies will go out there and show that there's actually more violence going on in their neighborhood than what there really is. But in general, like I said, there's an exception to every rule. But for the most part, I do think a combination of NIBRS, which is definitely more detailed than the UCR because it collects more data. Um, I think putting all those different databases together, we can see the influx in crime, whether it's, more violent offenses, more property crimes. And I think from a year to year basis, we can rely on those stats to predict crime trends or see the change in crime trends. And that's really all I can say that the data is reliable for. Another point I wanted to make is law enforcement can only report the information that's given to them. Most of the time, we're not there witnessing crimes. We're just collecting data from victims A lot of you all have made points in your discussion post as to, well, what if the victim lies, or what if they don't recall the details as correct because of, the trauma that they faced from the event. Yes, there's just so many variables to everything. But as a law enforcement agency, and me believing in doing the right thing and reporting the right facts, I believe that the majority of law enforcement agencies and officers are putting their best foot forward when it comes to reporting this information and turning it in. Just because, I mean, we're police. You can see all these bad stories about police on the news, but in general, law enforcement officers are out here for the right reason and doing the right thing. So we're putting our best forward and turning in the correct data. Another point I want to address is you all were saying that a lot of the data wasn't being collected because it was only documenting the most serious offense. So yay and nay on this. I want to explain it. So say for instance, we have somebody that goes out here, they break into somebody's home, which is a crime. They commit a sexual assault while they're in the house. And let's just say they kill the person after they sexual assault them, and they go jump in the car and steal it. So you got roughly 3 or 4 crimes right there. So what UCR does, that's one single incident. And so based on the hierarchy rule, they're going to only quantify the most serious offense for UCR purposes. Now, as a law enforcement officer, are we going to document that in our system that all those crimes occurred and charge them with all those different things? Yes, we are. So understand that just because UCR is not documenting every single offense, that is just the data is not being collected, or is the crime is not known. We know about it. We're charging it. We're addressing it. But just in our arrest referrals or the information that we're inputting, that it's only for UCR purposes documenting the most serious offenses. But please understand that, it's still being documented, it's still being quantified. It's just that the UCR chooses to use the hierarchy rule and is not documenting all those different crimes, or all those different charges within a single criminal incident. And I think I'll conclude chapter 2 by discussing the dark figure of crime. Um, there's a tons of reasons out there why people don't report crimes. Say, for instance, just being real, if you grow up in the hood, there's just certain stuff you're accustomed to seeing that if you lived in an affluent, rich neighborhood, that they're just not accustomed to seeing. I grew up in a rough neighborhood in Memphis, and there was a lot of stuff that people didn't, call the police for, that was considered a norm for us. But if these same actions were taking place in a different or more affluent community, people would be calling the police left and right. So geographics determine, what's being reported. The way you grow up with what you've been exposed to, or what's your norm, is going to influence, uh, what you report to police as well. But just understand, once again, I'm going to reiterate that there's no possible way for police to know everything that goes on. We're never going to get close to knowing or documenting every crime that happens. Uh, People involved in sexual assaults, the majority of them won't report it to police. If somebody goes out here and break into your car and you don't have much of a financial loss, some people may not even, waste the time, reporting it to police. Every time somebody underage drinks, or illegally possesses marijuana, or purchases it or sells it, or every time somebody drives drunk, it's just not possible to catch and know about every single crime. So I'm trying to push y'all mindset away from understanding that that's not the goal of these databases, UCR and NIBRS, to know everything that goes on and document it. It's just, what I'm asking you is, do you think these databases for the known crimes are an accurate representation of what's being reported to police departments? And in general, I'm gonna say yes, and they do a good job of letting us know uh, how the crime is trending once again. So this year, Oxford Police Department. So we report a yearly. I don't even know what the name of it is. I can't think of it right now. But we do a yearly pack of data, and it basically tells all our crimes. This year, we had like 140 auto burglaries, maybe, or not this year, but 2020. And I want to say our auto burglars went up maybe, it's probably 20 more this year versus how many it was last year. So just with us documenting and quantifying that data, we can go back and say, all right, well, there was 120 auto burglaries in 2019, and then hey, in 2020 we had 140. So you're able to go back and say, all right, well, auto burglaries are on the rise, or hey, we had 10 homicides this year, or 240 in Memphis, and this year there was 30. So then you can see that those things are on the rise or growing. So in general, I mean, it's kind of hard to lie about those stats. I mean, if you're arresting people and charging them, and then they're going to court, and you're having to, you know, go to court on these cases, and they're collecting different data. There's just so many different facets to overlap and collect data that it's very hard to, skew these stats and not get caught. But like I said, there's an exception to every rule, and it's possible. Y'all keep up the good work. Like I said, I have y'all making the initial post on Wednesdays because I've reached out to my students and kind of got feedback from them, and they've made the comments that, hey, it's just the same few students posting the same stuff at the beginning of the week, and then we're basically responding to the same students over and over because everybody's waiting to the last minute. So me having y'all complete the initial post by Wednesday is allowing everybody to see a variety of the different students, and hear from different students, and not just wait till the last minute and or do it early and see the same people. So that's my method behind that madness. Chapter 3 is going to introduce y'all into the foundation of the criminal justice system, and you see that a lot of what we do now has come from the English common law. If y'all have any questions or need anything, several of you have reached out to me already. Just let me know. Y'all take care.